So do we just not believe in the Second Amendment? It is to protect yourself against the possibility of tyrannical government.
Old amendment built and designed.
Is the First Amendment old?
No.
But they were written at the same time.
That's all right.
What's going on, everyone? James Klug here. Joe Biden recently went on a rant about how Americans shouldn't be allowed to buy semi-auto weapons, which is just about every firearm being sold today. So, do people support this? Today I'm with Aldo from PragerU, and we're going to find out. Aldo, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Let's go talk to some people. Huge shout out to our friends over at iTarget for sponsoring this video. Do you believe that we should ban the sale of semi-auto weapons? Yes or no?
Yes.
Ban, probably that's a strong word. Probably put a lot more regulation on them.
It's a terrible idea. You disagree with that. Why do you disagree with that?
Because he's an idiot and almost everything's semi-automatic.
I think we should, yes. I mean, I'm a public school teacher and, you know, we've seen all of, I mean, I don't have to remind everyone, like what we've seen on the news and with these violent situations that have taken place in public schools.
Semi-automatic weapons are used strictly here, I think, for hunting people. I'm not against firearms or the right to bear arms.
Why do you say yes?
Because they kill people.
Do they defend people too?
If you're in war.
I think they should regulate the rounds instead of the actual weapons themselves.
What would that do, in your opinion?
Well, you can't. The gun is useless without ammunition to go in it.
So, take away the ammunition instead of take away the gun. What's the difference there?
Regulate the ammunition. Make it more difficult to obtain.
How many rounds would you like to go down to, if you don't mind me asking?
All of them.
Oh, so just get rid of the ammunition.
Not get rid of it. Regulate it.
I'm fine with the police having him. That's it.
Just the local authorities or the government?
No AR-15s, done.
Let me ask you guys, so if you're proposing like wide-scale gun seizures, is that what you're proposing? And if it is, then how do you get around?
She can speak for about. I don't think it's possible. You're right. We just
have
too many firearms out there.
Okay.
And you can't get around like the Fourth Amendment, right? Like taking people's personal property without compensation. So there has to be another way. And
what would you? He said no.
Yeah.
Would you support that?
Would support what you're saying?
No.
Well,
would support like?
I just don't know practically that there
We
is
can,
a way that we
can.
Yeah.
No, but I wish we could.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking about this is Joe Biden recently said that the idea that we allow the sale of semi-auto weapons in America is just he said it was sick.
It is sick.
Is it sick? He called it was sick.
I agree with him.
You agree with him?
Yeah.
Why do you agree with him?
Because you don't need an automatic weapon like that or semi-automatic. What are you going to do with it?
I think a lot of people, I mean, you know, we have the Second Amendment.
I mean, you don't use it for hunting, right?
Was the Second Amendment created for hunting?
Not for AR-15s.
He did say semi-auto.
That was to arm a militia, not for every jerk or every person to have a AR-15. No, I don't think you should have them.
They're weapons of mass destruction.
Well, he mentioned semi-auto weapons, though. I mean, what is a semi-auto weapon?
Well, it's when you pull a trigger and it just keeps firing.
Aside from pump action, bolt action, it's pretty much every single gun on the market today. What you see on the side of a police officer's hip is a semi-auto pistol. So are you advocating, would you say, to get rid of basically every single firearm in the United States aside from pump action and bolt action?
No. Like I said, I still believe in the right to bear arms. I believe that you have the right to protect yourself.
With the bolt action?
how are we going to stop all the bad guys that have these semi-automatic weapons, right? We got to have some good guys there as well.
I guess that's a good point. I mean, if criminals are using semi-automatics, and they're not going to abide by the rules, well, you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself.
What would you say a semi-auto weapon is?
Something you'll shoot as fast as you can pull the trigger.
Right. So that's effectively every single firearm being sold today, including the pistols that you buy at the store. You said no, it's not?
For it.
Okay, so
what do you use it for?
I'm sorry. You would advocate for banning all new weapons, is that correct? Or new weapons as of like 1940, is that correct?
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah.
And it's an interesting point that we're bringing up right there, right? Would you be more in favor of going after perhaps these criminals on the streets that have illegal guns, etc., before any conversation about banning what law-abiding citizens are using? Should that be more of the focus? Should that be more of the focus instead of going after people like you and me?
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, because criminals are the ones that, like I said, don't follow the rules. So if you have a law-abiding citizen that is following the rules, I guess they should have the right to, as long as they're not harming anybody, to possess those weapons, I guess. Now that you presented a pretty good point.
It's a good point, James.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, everyone, let's take a quick second to talk about today's sponsor. So the holidays are right around the corner, and I have the perfect gift idea for the gun enthusiasts in your life. That, of course, is iTarget Pro. Now, the Supreme Court has officially made it easier for you to conceal carry for protection, but it's still your responsibility to be properly trained. iTarget has been a proud sponsor of my channel all year, and I actually use and love their product. This system allows you to dry fire practice with your actual firearm anytime in the safety and privacy of your own home. No more inconvenient trips to the range, and you will save a ton on practice ammo, especially if you're doing dry fire quick draws. Just download iTarget's proprietary app, load the laser bullet into your firearm, and start training. Improve muscle memory, reaction speed, sight alignment, trigger control, and more. iTarget Pro comes in all major calibers, including .223, so you can stay sharp with almost any firearm. Save 10% plus free shipping with the offer code Klug when you go over to itargetpro.com right now. This is the smartest investment in your ability to safely and effectively handle your firearm. Plus, it'll pay for itself in one day. That's the letter I, targetpro.com, itargetpro.com, offer code Klug. Take advantage of this, you guys. I'll pin a comment down below. Let's get back to the video. The White House press secretary walked the statement back, basically saying he was just talking about AR-15, assault weapons, semi-auto rifles is pretty much what they're talking about. He said semi-auto weapons, she said he was talking about semi-auto rifles. Could be true. Would you support any form of government involvement of removing those from people?
I guess I'd be more interested in who has them.
About 25 to 30 million like AR-style rifles in the United States.
And who has them outside of the military? And why do they have them?
Why do they have them?
Yeah.
It's a modern rifle, basically. Semi-auto rifles. You know, rifles like the AR-15. How do you feel about that? Do you think we should get rid of those or no?
No, of course not. Semi-automatic just means it works every time you pull a trigger. That's the way every handgun is, the way most rifles are. I mean, all the bad words are coming up with assault rifle. It's all Democrat talking points to make things look bad.
We keep the Second Amendment. We keep all of our weapons, all of them.
We keep the First and Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Can I ask you why that's such an important right to protect?
Our freedom. Freedom is the most important thing in life. And that's what this country is all about and has always been all about. So we can't take that away at all.
I'm not a huge gun guy. I mean, it probably wouldn't be safe if I had a gun. I'm too clumsy anyway. But overall, I just think that we need to stick to our guns and the rights that were originally put in place. And I trust the leadership that put those laws in place. And I'm okay just to let it be.
I believe it's a fundamental constitutional right that we have in order to protect us, me, my property, and my family.
You have roughly two guns
right.
per U.S. adult.
Right.
And so, what gun legislation do you think would actually work in cutting down on gun crime?
I don't know that there is any legislation other than it appears that maybe we do need slightly longer screening periods.
When the Founding Fathers said that the people's right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, do you think that was a suggestion? Do you think that was a right that they wanted us to have forever, all American citizens?
I think that was written 250 years ago, and its relevance today may be slightly different.
Do you feel the same way about the First Amendment?
Right. If you applied that same logic, then do you think that free speech should only be protected in print newspaper and not broadcast television and on social media?
Free speech is more what's politically correct in the modern day and what isn't. That's what free speech is to me, you know. But when the laws were written 250 or whenever they were written, the spirit of how they were written is different than it is today. Fast forward to
what would you say is outdated then about Americans' right to self-protection, self-preservation? What is outdated about that concept?
And being able to say whatever they want, whenever they want, to whoever they want. What's outdated? I don't know. Times are different. 250 years ago, there weren't cars, there weren't street lights. But we have them today. They're restricting cars from driving up and down the road willy-nilly and doing whatever they want. So fast forward modern day, maybe there's...
Well, perhaps
I'm not saying that I agree with...
Perhaps if transportation, if that was like a constitutional right, there would be a different discussion there, but it's not.
We're one of the few countries that allows this to go on. It's horrifying.
That's because we have the Second Amendment, right? So do we just not believe in the Second Amendment? It is to protect yourself against the possibility of tyrannical government.
Old amendment built and designed.
Is the First Amendment old?
No.
But they were written at the same time.
That's all right. But they didn't know what they. If I can tell you, if the founding fathers knew then what they know, what we have now as far as semi-automatic weapons, they never would have written that law. It's an archaic law. Some of our laws are good. That one is not good.
And so we just don't think that the Second Amendment's relevant today at all.
I don't think it's relevant to possessing AR-15s.
You're saying AR-15s, but you just believe pretty much all guns.
That type of a weapon. I mean, there's no use for it.
A lot of people say that the Second Amendment was only to protect muskets and rudimentary rifles. What do you say to those people that say that it doesn't protect these newer guns that are more advanced?
Well, they didn't exist back then. So clearly they couldn't have accounted for an AR-15 that didn't exist back then, right? It just existed. The whole point is so regular people can defend themselves against the government. So imagine China people would love to have weapons right now, right? Look what's going on over there. And all these other crazy, stupid countries. In Venezuela and Germany, the first thing they did is get rid of guns. And then all of a sudden they're burning the Jews all over the place. So, it's not a matter of the type of gun. It's a matter, you don't need to have a Gatling gun, I guess, would be the bigger upside. Or the fully automatic, those have to be registered with the ATF. That's different. But semi-automatic guns, it just means it works every time you pull the trigger.
Yeah, and you have to apply, I think, the same logic of the Second Amendment that you do to other amendments. Right? If it was just rudimentary firearms and muskets, then how do you apply that same logic to the First Amendment? Are we only going to protect free speech on print newspapers and not broadcast television and social media? We have to adjust with the times and protect people's rights no matter what we're talking about. It's the right of the person and the right to protect themselves and the right of the people, not just the government. If it was the right only of the government, I think we'd be in a tough place. If the government told us everything that we could do, right, they could lock us in our homes. They could close down our churches. They could shut down our economy. I don't want to get to that dystopian future. Hopefully we never get there, right, James?
Free speech is all specifically about talking against the government.
You're absolutely
so it's not talking between you and I. We just walk away. But the whole speech they're trying to limit is the ability of people to talk against what the government says.
There's tens of millions of semi-automatic weapons in the United States.
There's probably less than 1 million worldwide. Most of them are here in this country. Most countries wouldn't allow them.
The reason why I bring this up is, rifles in general, across the board, rifles in general, are used in right around, according to FBI statistics, right around 2.5% to 3% of total homicides. Would you say that it's about 400 deaths a year, that's not all AR-15s, would you say that number is worth confiscating tens of millions of weapons?
That's wrong. There's over 40,000 people in this country killed a year by weapons.
You're including suicide in that and not homicide.
Suicide,
but I was pointing at rifles
shootings.
In general because that's what you were talking about.
Maybe rifles, a hunting rifle.
It's rifles in general. FBI just has them as rifles in general.
Okay.
So it's about 2.5% of homicides.
I'd still like to see them gone.
You still like to see them gone?
Sure, yeah.
How do you go about that, would you say?
Well, it'd be pretty difficult nowadays. There's more guns than people in this country.
Would you advocate for, removal of people's households, for removing their firearms?
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
You'd like to see that?
Yeah.
So that's why we have the Second Amendment, to resist the possibility of the government kicking down doors and taking your stuff.
That's not why we have the Second Amendment.
Yes, it is.
You're taking one paragraph and you're distorting it.
What paragraph am I misunderstanding?
That's just to arm a militia. That was when we had muskets. That's when the only use for guns was shooting Indians and runaway slaves.
Yeah, the Bill of Rights was literally created to resist the possibility of tyrannical rule.
It should be changed.
So you're changing your argument now?
I think the Second Amendment should be changed.
That's not what the Second Amendment was for. It was to resist the possibility of tyrannical rule.
Well, I don't think
the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They were very strict on that.
I don't think we have a problem.
You don't think we have a problem?
I'm not worried about my neighbors.
What was the problem?
I'm not worried about my neighbors trying to overcome my neighborhood or anything like that. The trade-off is just too much.
It sounds like you support the federal government kicking down doors. So it sounds like you do support tyrannical rule.
You're kind of a.
You said yes to that.
You're embellishing what I said. Is what you're doing.
I asked you a question and then you answered it, and
then you embellished it.
You're talking about what was the purpose of the Second Amendment when the law was written? What would you say it was?
exactly how it was written, to allow for people to say whatever they want to say.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the Second Amendment
The
here.
Second Amendment. Exactly the way it's written. People should be able to protect themselves and their property and all that. And I agree with that today.
Yeah. So the Bill of Rights was created to literally protect the people from the government, correct? So the concept there is...
I'm not sure if it was to protect them from government.
Federal government, yeah.
Maybe it was to protect them from other people.
No, it was a federal government. It was literally to solidify the longevity of the nation when it comes to protecting the people against the possibility of tyrannical rule.
When the Founding Fathers say free state, that's not talking about a specific state, a physical thing. It's about the state of us being free.
Right.
So it is the state of us being free from despotism.
Well,
and the question is, why is that an outdated concept of resisting the possibility of tyrannical rule today? Why is that an outdated concept when we have countries that are totalitarian countries like China, Cuba, Venezuela that have confiscated firearms so they can implement tyrannical rule? So why is that an outdated concept today?
Okay, so you guys are getting way too in depth for me for...
I want to hear your opinion on this, though.
know,
Why is that an outdated concept if we see it happening all around us all the time?
I'm not saying it's an outdated concept. I'm saying that it
Sorry,
fast
I thought you were
forward,
hinting at that.
I'm hinting that the concept of it in modern day maybe not as it was intended and written back 250 years ago. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying the intent and the spirit of the way those laws were written today maybe need to be interpreted a little bit differently. I don't know.
Well, I just think that last interview was interesting because what he said was that these ideas are outdated, right? The idea that we need to have a free state, free from despotism, free from tyranny is outdated. And you brought up a good point that we're seeing right now, all of these tyrannical governments around the world do what we're seeing some people in this country want to do, which is take away our defense mechanisms.
Well, and that's why I was bringing that up, because he was mentioning, like the purpose of it back then is irrelevant today is what he was getting at, right? So that's why I brought that up, because it actually isn't. It happens all around us, and it's happening today, in today's world.
Well, technology has advanced, obviously, our society has advanced, it's changed, but if anything, like you brought up, these ideas are not, they're more relevant than ever. We're seeing it all around the world. So I think we have to realize that, yes, it was written a long time ago when society didn't look like this, but the fundamental ideas of protecting people's rights and protecting them from tyranny are more relevant than ever.
Should we keep semi-auto weapons, you guys? Pro Second Amendment dogs?